And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Stables Network. Happy Thanksgiving, Truth Seekers. This is the show that provides research and statistics all about the Detroit and Michigan sports teams, whether fans like it or not, and detects, exposes, and reveals actual and hidden facts and truth that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Frank Vajcner. Ed Smith will be on shortly. Follow me on Twitter at follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips. Follow Frank_Vajcner on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Frank_Vajcner, Vajcner. And follow Ed Smith on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at EdSmith313. Follow the show on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Also like its Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Check out its website, the MichiganSportsTruthPodcast.com. And scour the Stables Network's YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Also like the Stables Network on Facebook. We are on Facebook Live on the Stables Network, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. And follow the Stables Network on Twitter and even Periscope as well, if necessary, at Stables Network, and on Instagram at the Stables Network. Plus, listen to the Stables Network on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Blog Talk Radio later on this week. The disclaimer reads, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers, nor does it represent or compete against any of the mainstream media in the state of Michigan. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden facts, truth, and statistics about them because the truth is out there. Why don't we get to those topics right away before we pass our prayers and condolences to 9 and 10 News later on tonight. So, awesome. Ed Smith is in. So, Ed, since you're here, why don't we go ahead and start with Michigan and Indiana. Michigan just, the first half was was a very good one, and Michigan led. It was back and forth. Michigan led 21-14 at halftime, and then they just kept on rolling 39-14. They shut out the Hoosiers in the second half. They didn't even allow a single point. Shea Patterson, 366 yards passing and 5 touchdown passes. This is Nico Collins stepped up. A lot of the Wolverines stepped up on offense and on defense. So that's very good by Michigan. Just a dominating performance, and I stated off the air last weekend. It's called making a statement in preparation for the game against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Ed, you got more analysis. That's saying something right there.
That definitely is. When you especially, and you also another name you can add on to that, the list of offensive names would be Ronnie Bell, because his name, of course, you would think at first mention, you would think of the drop he had against Penn State. But ever since that point in time, he has been absolutely on fire. You saw what he did to Michigan State, how he torched their secondary when they were too busy trying to focus on Nico Collins, the aforementioned Nico Collins, and or Donovan Peoples-Jones. Ronnie Bell was able to step up and be that weapon that was needed to execute. And without Ronnie Bell's contributions, that was one reason why Michigan had the performance they had against Michigan State. Now, that being said, they're going to need a whole lot of that and then some against Ohio State, which we'll talk about briefly. But this game here against Indiana, which is perfect because you knew going into it, just like in recent years, especially how they performed in recent weeks, Indiana was not going to be a pushover or the usual doormat opponent for Michigan to trample over so easily. But seeing how, like you mentioned, they were held to without a single point in the second half, that's just as quite a dominant job as I've seen them do against Indiana in quite some time, especially in Jim Harbaugh's tenure, because for the most part, every single time that he's faced off against Indiana, it's either been close calls, overtime, or something to that effect to where, the game didn't feel like out of reach for Michigan to be in complete control until late in the fourth quarter, whereas Michigan put that doubt out of mind like far early before that. So good on them for that, and it was a great help preview, so to speak, to get them ready for Ohio State. But it's a far different beast because, say what you want about Chase Young, he's only one player. That entire Ohio State defense is full of versatile, talented, and just absolutely phenomenal players that, forget about what they have on offense. Let's not sniff over what they have on defense either and what problems they can cause for Michigan in that regard. So, good win against Indiana, but you got bigger fish to fry against OSU.
Yeah, definitely. Frank, follow up.
Well, kind of the second what you and Ed were saying. I mean, Michigan just really took control in the second half. They just took to the air because the ground game really wasn't getting going all that much. I know Zach Charbonnet only carried 8 times, had 46 yards. Hassan Haskins 44. So they let Shea take it to the air. And Ed, I think I mentioned this to you. I don't think you can refer to Shea Patterson as a game manager anymore. Back-to-back 300-yard passing weeks and 9 touchdown passes against. I think he only has thrown like 1 or 2 interceptions in the last 2 weeks. So you're starting to see.
He's been taking phenomenal care of the ball, especially since the first half of the Penn State game. From that point on, that's one big reason, one big important factor into Shea Patterson's growth and development in the second half of this season was his ability to protect the football. Because as we noted, from the first few early games of the season, whether it be Army or Wisconsin or to an extent, Patterson had ball security issues. Whether it be interceptions or just fumbling in general. He just could not be able to take care of the ball. Now, as we've seen in past several weeks, that's not been the case, but he's going to get a big test because Chase Young is a guy to where you can't hold on to that ball forever because he's going to be coming for you. He's going to be coming to rip your head off. Think Nick Bosa, think Joey Bosa. That's the type of players that Ohio State has had on that defensive side of the ball for the past few years. So, Patterson's going to have his handful with that one.
You're absolutely
Yep.
right. And I mean, it's not just Chase Young you have to worry about on that Ohio State defense. I mean, he's bar none the best D lineman in the whole country, and he could very well be the top pick in the NFL. He could be in the top 2 in the NFL draft. But you also have guys like Tough Borland at linebacker, who you can see playing on Sunday, and even in their secondary, they've got 2 very good corners in Damon Arnett and Jeffrey Okudah. And Okudah, I've seen, is projected to be a top 5 pick. So, I mean, you're probably going to see him matched up on Collins or DPJ. So you take one of those guys away, and then you probably see Arnett on the other guy. And then you got their safety and Jordan Fuller in there. You got another one, too, is really good. His name escapes me. I'm gonna pull up to see if he had any stats in his game against Penn State. But the thing is too, Ohio State's got other guys on there like Pete Werner, Malik Harrison.
Pete Werner's their name.
Yeah, Sean Way's their other safety. Yeah. So I mean, there's just guys all over that defense that you're going to see playing on Sunday. Hey, and I would say this is probably the best Ohio State team, at least I see. It's definitely better than the 2014 team. Definitely better than the 2002 team. I can never remember seeing an Ohio State team this good or this talented, especially on both sides of the ball. And truthfully,
I would say you probably have to go back to the mid-'90s. When they had Eddie George and those boys on that squad. Everybody remembers, how the Tim Biaka-Patuka game in '95, but everyone seems to forget, of how damn good Ohio State looked and was coming into that game. So that'll probably be, because since you mentioned, they're better than the 2014 team or the 02 team, then, we got to go back to the John Cooper days, even if you want to make that comparison.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably even mention the team in 1998 too that had Antoine Winfield, David Boston, Andy Katzenmoyer.
And they actually beat Michigan that year. And that was with Tom Brady at quarterback even.
Yeah. And that, well, of course, that was actually an Ohio State team that lost to Michigan State and Columbus, but that's another topic for another time. But truthfully, I know there's people saying that this is like 1969 all over again, when in Bo Schembechler's first year they beat an Ohio State team that was considered the greatest ever. And truth be told, I'm just having a hard time seeing how Michigan can come up with a game plan to beat Ohio State, because they conceivably don't have any weaknesses. The only way I see it happening is if something disastrous happens. Like I'm not saying I want any of this to happen, but let's say if Justin Fields goes down, then who? I have even had some of my Buckeye brethren tell me that they're not sold on their current backup quarterbacks. So if Fields goes down, then they're in trouble. Or if they cough up the ball a lot of times, because I believe they put it on the carpet at least 3 times against Penn State, and that allowed Penn State to get back into the game.
Exactly. I was going to mention, you can take injury out of it. What about the fact of, the fact that you can, right, if Ohio State starts coughing the ball up, having uncharacteristic turnovers, and also not finishing off drives to where you think, hey, they're about to come away with a touchdown, and let's say Michigan holds them to a field goal. If those type of drives happen, that's what is called making every single possession count, whether it be on offense and on defense. That's defense. Now, on offense, to me, you have to make every single offensive possession will be valuable, because, in my opinion, you're going to have to outscore OSU to beat OSU. Think about 2011. Think 2013. Obviously, it's going back to the Brady Hoke era, but still, that was the most recent evidence of success. Whether it be one was a win and the other one was a botched 2-point conversion away from another win. I feel it's going to come down to the fact that if you're the offense on Michigan, you know what you're facing on the other side. So you have to make each and every single possession count to the aspect. You got to get some type of points out of that drive every single time you touch the ball. You can't have too many 3-and-outs. You cannot have drives that stall. You cannot kill yourself with dumb penalties. And while Shea Patterson has done a tremendous job at testing the ball, he's going to get his stiffest test this year, bar none. With just Chase Young alone. Not to mention the rest of that OSU defense. They're going to be haunting him and ball hawking him the whole entire time. Just waiting for him to make a mistake. So it's going to come down to that, making every single offensive possession count. It's going to come down to whether Michigan is feeling the momentum to where, what they've done the past few weeks gives them the confidence to hang with an OSU. It's also going to come down to what Don Brown has in store with this game. Because remember, what we have seen him try out his man coverage D against OSU, that's been picked apart year after year after year. So even, when we've seen Don Brown make adjustments middle of this year, especially after the debacle against Wisconsin, we saw him try to switch it up by implementing more zone schemes, zone reads, not necessarily relying on man coverage, giving your guys a little bit of help in that department by going zone. So it'll be interesting to see if Don Brown is going to go straight up man up, or is going to mix it up by implementing some zones, or will it be zone heavy? Because that could be another key that Don Brown may use to switch up. Because, hey, after 62 points last year, where else can you go? So it'll be interesting to see how Don Brown is going to be up to the challenge for this. And really, it just comes down to find some breaks. You got to find breaks. When you are in a series to where you've had, 2, maybe 3 wins, I believe, this entire century against Ohio State. Right, 2000.
2003.
Right, 03, the 100th anniversary, and then 2011, which was Hoke's first year. That's it. That is literally it. Either every other year has either been some type of embarrassing domination, or you get some fluke what will happen in 2016. So, or even the close heartbreakers like '05 and '06 and so on and so forth. So it just comes down to, hey, if Michigan can get a break or two, take advantage of it and don't apologize for it if it's one beneficiary factor to why you win. OSU has never apologized for any of the lucky breaks they've gotten against you in the past few years. So don't you feel bad about doing a similar action if it happens for you? Turnabout is always fair play, you always say.
Right. There are no apologies in games. You play to win the game regardless. Whatever lucky breaks or mistakes or adversity comes at you, great teams finish no matter what the circumstances. That's the philosophy in sports in general. And Ed, you pointed out those examples of that. So, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, prediction time. The game. Who wins? Ed, we'll start with you.
The spread started out OSU double digits. For some reason, it has slowly but surely gone down to, well, last I checked, either 9 or even 8.5 points.
It's at 9 right now.
It's at 9 right now. If it was at a solid 10, I would say Michigan has a chance to cover. I'm not going to go full hard and say they're going to win because I've fallen prey to that before and I've gotten burned every time. So I'm going to do the smart thing and just focus on recent history and also focus on what my eyes have been seeing this entire season about where these two teams are, where these two programs are. My final conclusion is, as much as it pains me to do so, I got Ohio State winning. Let's go 20. Nah, let's go 30, 30, 33, 31, 24, 31, 21. 31-21, 31-20, that type of score, because depending on how the weather may go, that could be another X factor. You know, we haven't had a chance to talk about that too much, but if certain inclement conditions come into play, that might be an X factor as to how teams may game plan offensively. But even still, OSU, they're just a better team. They have better athletes. They're in a better position. They have a better program right now. So,
yeah, and they're number one in the college football playoff rankings.
Exactly.
And they have the number one defense.
They're the consensus one, or at least no worse than the second best team in the nation. So unless some ungodly
they're number one already.
Ungodly turn of events happens, I just don't see OSU losing. So unfortunately, I'm going to say Ohio State, they're going to win, and it's a good likely chance they'll win by more than 9 points. So my prediction, Ohio State 31, Michigan 20.
All right, 31-20. Ed Smith picks the Buckeyes to win. As much as I hate to hear it, I have to. We got to hear the truth. Frank, what say you? Your prediction?
I'm pretty much in the same boat as that. I know the spread's kind of been around that 9.5. I think according to the Action Network, it opened at 8.5. It's kind of around there. I mean, if it's 10 or lower, I'm definitely betting. I'd bet Ohio State. If it gets like above 10, I probably don't touch it. If it was north of 15, I'd probably take Michigan to cover. But enough of that. I think, like pretty much what Ed said, Ohio State is the better team. They've got way much more talent than Michigan does. I know there's going to be people that are going to throw the old cliche, oh, it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. You throw the records out the window. There are cases where that has been true in this rivalry, but it hasn't been fairly recent. I know people point to 1969 and 1995 and maybe even 1996 as well, but in this century, when Ohio State's been good, they've won. Except for 2010 because they had to vacate, but enough of that. I'm going to say Ohio State wins probably in somewhere in the neighborhood of 34-21. And I just don't think Michigan's going to have a way to stop Justin Fields at all, because it's kind of what Ed said. If Don Brown elects to play man against Ohio State, Justin Fields could recognize it and then burn you with his legs. And if you go zone, they're probably going to hit you with underneath crossing routes, and that's been an Achilles heel of Michigan as well. So I'll go 34-21 Buckeyes.
34-24.
At least it's not 62 points.
No, it won't. I don't think that. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, if it does,
if they get clowned again, especially at home,
Brown should be fired.
Yes, without question. Yes, I'll say it. I'll be the first one to say it. I love Todd Brown. I love what he's done in terms of overall defensive production. We've seen some dark days, especially in the Rich Rod days with Greg Robinson and such. But no, this is unacceptable. The standard is, what do you do against Ohio State? What do you do against the big boy? And, for the most part, Don Brown has not been able to pull off quite enough oomph against Ohio State as he does against the Little Sisters of the Poor on his schedule. So that is the measuring stick. It is a bit harsh, but it's the reality.
Yep, that's what this is all about on the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, isn't it? I'm going to go with Ohio State 34 and Michigan 21. I'm going to try to combine it. I'm not going to try to range it, but Ohio State, as much as I pray for Michigan to win, at least for somebody, not going to mention anyone, but I see Ohio State winning too, unless Michigan somehow pulls a miracle out of their hat, out of their sleeve. I mean, what else is there to say? Ohio State is definitely number one.
You would need turnovers. You would need like we saw, like that weird occurrence in that Lions-Packers game a few years back where the Packers almost unwittingly but unintentionally gave the Lions an extra free 2-point safety because they didn't know how to properly field a kickoff. You would need some type of weird kerfuffle flukery to happen to give you even a decent shot to win this game. And even still, I don't think that would be enough. That's just how damn good OSU is, unfortunately, whether you like it or not.
Right. Absolutely. Noon on Fox. I'll be at work at Herman's European Cafe. I'll have the game set to DVR in case the Wolverines do pull out a miracle victory. But I got a DVR anyway just to watch and see exactly what happened. Ed, I'll take your notes since you're on a short hiatus after tonight due to undisclosed reasons. I won't mention them. We don't want to mention any of them, just undisclosed. Ed, just let me know when you're done with all that stuff, and then welcome back. December 18th, Frank is out. So Ed, you're probably going to be all I've got unless I can.
I will do my best to make sure you will still have notes to pass on, not just OSU, Michigan, but for the other teams.
Definitely. What about December 18th? Frank is out.
December 18th is a possibility, but it's a to be determined. But I like my chances.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. You're all I've got on there. So Michigan and Ohio State, noon on Fox, Saturday, 2 days after Thanksgiving, 1 day after Black Friday. Before we move on to Michigan State, we here at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast would like to pass our prayers and condolences to 9 and 10 News and Local 32 up in Cadillac and his entire crew on the passing of their graphics coordinator, Tom Mueller, who started there back in 1975. Mueller passed away this past Sunday. Mueller brought more Emmy Award-winning graphics to WWTV, UPTV as a CBS affiliate, and WFQX and WFUP in Vanderbilt. WWUP-TV is in Sault Ste. Marie, by the way. And he brought a cheerful attitude to the crew. He also loved to talk about sports, including golf, and our teams that we detect the truth about here on our podcast. So very sad loss of 9 and 10 News. Saw three of their on-air personalities fighting back emotions. Two of them being my favorites. Courtney Hunter, Kevin Essebeggers, my favorite Megan Vaselli, who is a U of M fan. Ed Smith, I think you want to try to give her more analysis on Michigan football and basketball. Just a little reference there. Yeah, absolutely. So my prayers and condolences go out to them. But Tom Mueller, such a great guy. He liked to talk about sports, especially golf, but he liked all of our teams that we detect the truth about, no matter what happens. So, Ed, any words on that?
Other than to piggyback of what you were saying, likewise, especially around this time of the year, the holidays can always be tough and stressful for numerous reasons. So to add this on top of that, it's just not just unfortunate timing, but it's heartbreaking timing as well. So prayers, condolences, and best wishes definitely go out to Mr. Mueller's family, because he, from what I can tell, from what I could hear, not only was he upstanding and outstanding, not just as a worker, but as a friend, as a family person, and as a human being. So my thoughts definitely are with his family right now.
Yeah, Frank, follow suit.
Kind of echo with what you said and what Ed said. I mean, as someone who has lost a close family member around this time of year, it is very difficult to go through, especially because you're not going to see them again around the holidays, and going through all the arrangements and stuff. It's very hard. So I mean, my prayers and my condolences are to the Mueller family and everyone who has worked with him at all the TV stations up there. From what I've been told, he was one of the hardest working people in the business, and he'll be gone, but never forgotten.
Definitely. Tom Mueller was a legend at 9 and 10 News. And then additionally, Local 32 in our recent lifetime. I remember all the old 9 and 10 logos, one of them which I got fixated on and still fixated on after all those years. And I'll email a picture of all those logos after we're done on the with the show. I got a screenshot of it, of those 9 and 10 logos. How about if I try to get them on right now? While we're at it, Michigan State just shut out Rutgers 27-0. Not much offense, but Rutgers is Rutgers. Frank, I know you're a Spartan fan, but we're going to start with Ed this time. Ed, not much analysis there. Michigan State just took good care of Rutgers. That's it.
As they were supposed to do. Rutgers, as you mentioned, are Rutgers, and after everything that MSU has gone through this season, and quite frankly, the past few seasons, to be honest, much needed win. They needed an opponent to help take out all of their aggression out on, because I'm sure they've been frustrated about this whole year's been progressing, and they just need someone to take out those frustrations on. And luckily, they found the right patsy, they found the right guinea pig in Rutgers here. So much needed win. It was just one more trek towards finishing out this season, and at the very least, you still have aspirations of getting that bowl game on your schedule, get those extra practices in, but. Granted, it comes off as a very weak consolation prize at this point of the year, but Coach D'Antonio is about getting those reps and get as many reps as possible in for those upcoming players. So if there's one area of motivation to keep playing for, it would be that.
Yep. Frank, follow suit.
Well, as I mentioned last week, I was looking to see if Michigan State players had any form of pride left, and of course they did by taking care of Rutgers. Now I think I can say playing Rutgers is pretty much the cure for your offensive struggles, as things kind of came back to life more. They beat up 27 Bagel. I know that it wasn't that great passing wise for Brian. The work he did have 3 touchdown passes. 239 yards total. And Elijah Collins had 100 yards on the ground. Cody White had himself a game with 11 catches for $136 and 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, they did. I mean, it was good to see that they showed some pride. So, you know what? We still care about what happens. We're tired of losing. We're not going to just lay down and quit. So, hats off. So hats off to Mark D'Antonio and the guys. Now, as they head into Maryland next week, I know Maryland has been another disaster of a team. They have had their struggles too in recent weeks. They have gotten blown out by Nebraska 54-7, got blasted by Ohio State 73-14. Michigan beat them 38-7, and in fact, they've given up. In fact, in 3 of their last 5, they've given up 50 or more points. So, I think this will be a nice way for Michigan State to save face, salvage their season, and get to a bowl game. And
you say that now. That's easy to say, but you have seen up close and personal of how inept MSU's offense has been at stretches, important stretches, in fact, throughout this season. So, to really be honest, it's going to come down to a battle of the worst. Who's going to be more terrible, the Michigan State offense or the Maryland defense?
Well, I would say Maryland's well, again, I thought Rutgers' defense was bad, and I think Maryland. They're giving up. Like I said, they've allowed 50 or more in 3 of their last 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe this will probably be something that Michigan State goes out, takes care of business.
If I'm Brian Lewerke, I'm forcing the ball to Cody White every chance I get.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea.
We can only hope. So prediction time,
or just giving the ball to Elijah Collins, and I think they're going to try to get him to over 1,000 yards. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, it's the spread right now is Michigan State minus 22.5, and of course, with it being crappy weather, I don't think that they end up covering, but I think they'll take care of business. I think they'll probably win the game. I'll say 20. I'll say 20. I'll say 28-7, and Maryland might get a late garbage touchdown just to get a backdoor cover. But I think Michigan State wins 28-7, and there'll probably be a heavy workload for Elijah Collins as he goes over 1,000 yards on the year.
Yep. Ed, your prediction?
Assuming we get inclement weather coming in, more than likely, I like this. I see the scores going along similar to what Frank was talking about. I'm seeing like a 24-13, 24-10 type of game where MSU, they just grind it out. They feed Elijah Collins or they get Cody White involved somehow. And Maryland, like you said, if you give up 54 points to friggin' Nebraska of all teams, I'm pretty sure MSU should not have too much of a trouble. Despite their horrific nature, they should not have too much of a trouble moving the ball up and down the field and getting some points on the board. So instead of 24, let's go MSU 28, Rutgers 13. They won't. I mean, excuse me, not Rutgers, Maryland, because it won't be enough. It won't be enough for MSU to cover, but it'll be a good win to get on Senior Day in front of the home crowd. So let's go MSU to get the win, but they won't cover. Maryland will still find a way to get the point spread.
Yep. I'm going to go Michigan State 27 and Maryland 13, just to range it. So we're just over a half hour into this thing here. So why don't we go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and mention Michigan State basketball losing to Virginia Tech 71-66 in the first round, the Maui Invitational. They beat Georgia 93-85 and UCLA 75-62, while Michigan beat Iowa State 83-76 and stay undefeated.
Michigan does have a tough one tomorrow against North Carolina at 1:30 in the Battle for Atlantis.
Oof.
Oh man, yeah.
Good luck on that one.
Yeah, I don't see Juwan Howard's squad winning that one.
I think it'll be much more entertaining than Lions and Bears, guys. So, if you're viewing options on Thanksgiving, tune into that.
That will be a nice parameter bench test for Juwan Howard and to see how his boys will rank up in the early going of his first season. So I like it. I like the test.
Yeah,
I'm sure Juwan Howard's more than up for the challenge.
Yep, to say the least. Well, hopefully he is. So, but MSU basketball losing twice this season. There's a bit of a concern, Frank.
I would agree with that. That there are some things that they got to get better at. I mean, turnovers is one thing. 3-point defense they got to get better at too. And I mean, look, and even in the Georgia game, Anthony Edwards. Look, I know that Anthony Edwards is projected to go as high as number 2 in the NBA draft, but still, you got to find a way to run guys off the 3-point line, or at least make it difficult. Whether that's you can test the shots, and or things like that. Make sure you communicate on defense. You cut your seams, but still, there's stuff that's got to be worked on. And I mean, once they get back to the mainland from Hawaii, I'm sure Izzo's going to be putting them through some work to get better by the time they face Duke on Tuesday, the Big Ten ACC Challenge.
Yep, absolutely. So, I can't wait for that one. The ACC Big Ten Challenge. Yeah, none of us can wait. So,
I can't wait to see Michigan-Louisville.
Oh, man, that's a dandy. Yeah.
That should be a good one, too.
Yep. Why don't we move on to the Lions losing to the Redskins 19-16. They lost to the Redskins. Jeff Driscoll, 3 interceptions before being out against the Bears, but my gosh, was he terrible. Geez, it was a close game. I get it, but they are weakened by the loss of Matthew Stafford. I get it. At least they didn't allow too many points, but Driscoll's second interception cost the Lions the game, and his third interception pass sealed it. Just terrible.
It would be oh so Lions for them to finally have a good quality day defensively, and yet it's still wasted. I think, didn't they give up a special teams return touchdown?
Yeah, so about 100 yards.
Or
not 100 yards, but almost. Still a
so
touchdown.
Between that, now granted, the defense still had some spots where they looked vastly inferior. I mean, even Darius Slay, of all people, was getting burned on a couple of plays. I'm sitting there myself looking like, maybe you should have laid off on the Hungry Howie's pizza before that, Darius, huh? But still, in all seriousness, it was just oh boy, atypical of this franchise to where they keep inventing new and fun ways to lose football games. So the defense finally has a good game, but the offense turns into an absolute pumpkin. Jeff Driscoll had pardon the pun, a very drizzling day, and not in the positive manner. You mentioned the turnovers. You mentioned how he looked. It's just, you can't rip him too much. You can't kill him too much because he is the backup QB for a reason. Granted, Sean Hill was not this bad when he was taking snaps in 2010. Hey, you get what you pay for, essentially. So you can't. I don't want to beat up on Driscoll because I think even that would be unfair to him. So between that and just so many other things that just always seem to go against the Lions' way, like for instance, not getting off the field on third down again. I really didn't see Haskins get pressured as much, which is, you would think, with this being a one-win football team, you could find some more pressure of getting to a rookie quarterback. But I saw none of that. Haskins looked comfortable. He was making plays, and really, if not for a couple of drops by his receivers, he probably would have had much better numbers than what his day indicated. So that didn't surprise me, and I've said it before, I say this again. This season died the moment Matthew Stafford went down. His back literally giving out for him, or the fact that he's been having no choice but to carry this pathetic organization now for the past several years. So it's just reiterates to me that it's tank time. You got to start tanking. They've done a masterful job of it so far, even if you haven't come out outright and said it. But now with the national audience being exposed, and now you're being forced to start a third-string quarterback who I didn't even know was even on the freaking roster until a couple days ago. You know, it says something that you much rather trust this guy over Colin Kaepernick, but that's another topic for another day. And you don't want to get into that divisive of a debate, especially around this time of the year. But still, it's just I know it's the time honored tradition, as Vince McMahon would say, about the Lions and Thanksgiving and all, but this has been probably the most uneventful and unhyped I've been for a Lions Thanksgiving game almost ever. And I have seen a lot of bad teams going into that one. I remember '08. I remember the Peyton Manning game. I remember the Chris Johnson game. I remember a lot of bad Thanksgivings before this one. And this one just feels so uninspiring because the season is a failure. The QB is done. You've lost essentially all hope, and not just the head coach, but the GM as well almost. So you're almost in a limbo state of purgatory almost. So you don't have too much to feel optimistic about, unfortunately, this Thanksgiving compared to past Thanksgivings when it comes to the Lions. But, if there's one silver lining, I would say tanking always helps. So if the Lions are in the middle of that right now, then bravo to them.
Yep, absolutely. Bears-Lions, Driscoll is out, like I mentioned before. David Blau's going to get the start. A former Cleveland Brown quarterback. I don't think we're going to expect much from him, but we'll have to see.
I mean, this ain't going to be Jason Garrett against Washington. Let's be clear on that one.
Yep, absolutely. Let's just go ahead and predict, because we got like 18 minutes left. Ed, your prediction.
Bears too strong. Lions offense is putrid. Let's go Chicago 28, Detroit 14.
Frank, your prediction.
I definitely don't think it's going to be that high scoring because the Bears stink on offense, and the Lions I don't think can even muster more than 10 points with David Blau, who the only thing I know about is he played quarterback at Purdue University. But he is definitely not the second coming of Drew Brees or Kyle Orton. He's probably much closer to Curtis Painter, who's about the last Purdue quarterback I can name who has actually had a stint in the NFL. I think this one is going to be very low scoring. If you're watching this on Thanksgiving, you're probably better suited eating your turkey and stuffing yourself first, then putting the game on and taking a nice long nap on the couch or in the recliner or wherever. And then you wake up and have dessert. So I'm going to say, I actually think this game will be, I'll say Bears 13, Lions 6.
Inebriation will be highly required while watching this football game, definitely.
Yeah, there won't be any inebriation in my house. I'm celebrating with my mom's side of the family, and they don't drink. So I think if there's anything, it's going to be everyone taking a nap after stuffing themselves with turkey and mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce and stuffing.
Yeah, all that food stuff. Everybody knows that. Let's just. I'm going to predict the Bears to go 20 to win 24-10, just to be on it, to exactly 10 for the Lions. Let's not ramble. We're not going to ramble anymore ever again on this show. So we're especially when we're running short on time. We got less than 16 minutes left. We got Red Wings, Pistons, and what's your grade on a Tigers trade here? Red Wings got smashed 6-0 by the Maple Leafs. Yeah, they're tanking. Now, Anthony Mantha out at least 2 weeks with a lower body injury, which is not going to matter. Red Wings are just tanking. Pistons, they lost again to the Charlotte Hornets. It was a close one, though. Yet another close one, but still the Pistons still find ways to lose. even though they won 2 or 3 against easy teams like the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. They're both at home. They gave the Bucks quite a fight, but the Bucks were too much. 104-90 on a Saturday night. Pistons are home against the Hornets Friday at 7 on a Black Friday. Wings are home against the Washington Capitals Saturday in Philadelphia Friday. All that stuff. The Wings and Pistons are probably just tanking. Ed, what did you say?
Wings, definitely. Pistons, I believe it or not, I think it's still far too early to say. I think you got to give it another month or so because, yeah, it's just hard to really gauge it, especially when you mention the fact that Blake Griffin did miss the first month of the season practically. So that's taking time of him trying to adjust, gelling and getting on point back to where everything, because you saw how the team was working before he got back and after he got back. So they're trying to mesh that around back together to a cohesive unit.
Yep. Frank, what say you?
I pretty much think the Red Wings are cooked. I know Anthony Mantha is going to be out an extended period of time. The Pistons, I think I want to wait and see a little bit more on. I know I'll get a look at them on December 18th when I'm at LCA for their game against the Raptors. But shifting back to the Wings, getting stomped 6-0 by the Maple Leafs, and I think it's just showing that it kind of makes me wonder. This team just put up no effort tonight, and you have to wonder how much more is Steve Yzerman going to tolerate.
Especially when you keep seeing all these 5-goal third periods that they keep giving up.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are just ugly.
And hey, guys, real quick, you guys followed the story on former Red Wings assistant coach Bill Peters?
Oh, he was investigated. Yep. He's leaning toward being fired.
Yeah, I just
quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, happy holidays, Bill.
Yeah.
Well, he can't.
Yeah. Here's your pink slip present for you, Billy Bass.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I thought
I did not make that up. I swear.
Yeah, he called a former player a racial slur when he was in the American Hockey League, and then there's players from Carolina that are saying that he was a jerk to them and he would physically abuse them. So,
wonderful.
Yeah, I think he's good. I would say probably by next week he is going to be canned in Calgary.
Yep, absolutely. So, got at least 3 minutes before Todd Faber actually shows up with his Faber's Fillers. He was in Flint tonight at the Firebirds games against the Saginaw Spirit. He's been tweeting it with plugging our Twitter handle at Michigan_truth. Thanks very much to Todd Faber, our filler guy at the end of our every episode for filling us in. But let's go ahead and go to begin our What's Your Grade segment. The Tigers have traded cash considerations to the Pittsburgh Pirates for pitcher Dario Agrizal, who had a .491 ERA and 41 strikeouts in 15 appearances with the Pirates in the MLB level, and a career .362 in the minors with 394 strikeouts and a 38-36 record, including a .445 ERA last year in the minors with 74 strikeouts and 12 walks. He was named the International Player of the Week for the week of May 5th of this past season, this calendar year, after going 1-0 with a 1.32 ERA and 13 strikeouts over 2 starts. Ed, what's your grade on that?
Probably a little bit below average, probably D+. I think this is just a guy, a need for depth purposes for the back end of their starting rotation, more than likely. I think he's going to be the Brad Penny, so to speak, for 2020.
So what was your grade again? I missed it.
D+.
D+. Oh, yeah. Frank, what's your grade on that?
I really agree with that. Say D+ as well. Just some guy to be being a depth guy. That's pretty much all it is. Nothing more.
Yeah, that's another example of why the Tigers are not going to be a playoff contender anytime soon. D+ for me. So, want to make a quick announcement that before Todd Faber comes on, our very own Jeff Moss at the Detroit Sports Rag is going to return with a Detroit Sports Rag podcast next week, and it's going to be on Spreaker. Everyone, just stay tuned. His Twitter account is private. It's at How About It 91. Everyone still please follow him, but he's got to keep it private. So, yeah. Ed, what are your thoughts on Jeff Moss returning?
I think it's excellent timing, and it's much needed in this current landscape between the 4 pro teams being absolutely depressing to watch at and the limbo that Michigan is in and the horrific state Michigan State is in. It's perfect timing for Moss to just lay waste into all these topics. So, yeah, definitely pumped for his return.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank, what say you?
I think this is probably some of the best news that we've come across in a while. It's good to finally have Moss back, bringing great free content, being honest just about the way that the state of the teams are, pro and college. I'm looking forward to when he gets back to podcasting. Jeff, if you're listening to this, it's been too long, man. Welcome back.
Yeah, and Jeff, on a personal note, tell Marlo I said hi, huh? Yeah. To everyone, to our audience here, I'm the one that at least helped Jeff get that beagle puppy, now a dog named Marlo, up in Manton 4 years ago, 2015, back in late August, before I had my last semester ever at Central Michigan University before graduating. So. We're still waiting for Todd Faber.
I'm here.
Hey, Todd, how's it going?
Here.
Fellas, how are you?
Wonderful.
Good in the hood.
Great to hear you, Todd.
Welcome back to Jeff Moss. We missed you, buddy. It's
Yes.
Slate Sports has not been the same without you critiquing it. So I went on a little bit of a road trip today because I knew that the Wings were playing the Leafs today, so that I chalked that one pretty much as an L. That was very astute on my part. So I decided.
Oh, that's a big L.
Oh my goodness, that was horrendous. But I mean, we can only talk about bad Detroit sports ad nauseum so much, but there's actually 2 very competitive teams a short drive away, and they just happen to be meeting tonight in Flint, where the Saginaw Spirit and the Flint Firebirds met up for the second installment of the I-75 Derby, which is what they call their rivalry. The first installment was a 4-1 victory in Saginaw for the Firebirds, 4-1. And the main attraction tonight lived up to the hype as Cole Perfetti came in and scored 2 goals, including a shorthanded, and 1 assist, earning the second star. He is certainly the real deal. He's a power forward in the mold of an Anthony Mantha, only better. He's ranked 3rd by Central Scouting behind only Alexis Lafreniere and Quentin Byfield. And it was a fantastic game. It had a little bit of everything. It had a fight, it had some chippy play, it had lots of scoring. 8-3 was the final score for Saginaw, so they tied their season rivalry. Fantastic game. The best nickname that I've seen in quite some time was by number 43 for the Spirit, who is David Davis T-Bone Todd. That actually says T-Bone in parentheses in the program. So very entertaining night. Special thanks to the folk at the Firebirds office for giving me the credentials and setting me up with a spot in the booth. And it's definitely a viable alternative. And if you're not, the thought of going to see live hockey is appealing, but you don't want to plunk down big money to watch AHL level hockey at NHL prices, go check out the Ontario League. It's basically junior hockey is similar to NHL hockey in that players are drafted, players are traded, and they're developed. And it's a great viable alternative at a great time. And I will be back. So as you were, gentlemen.
Todd, before you go, we passed our prayers and condolences to 9 and 10 News on the passing of Tom Mueller. What's your say on that?
Well, it's certainly he was an icon at that station. 44 years in one place is absolutely legendary. I didn't know the man. I didn't know his work per se, but certainly just seeing the outpouring of condolences from the crew up in the area, you could see that he really left his mark on a lot of great people. And again, my condolences go out to his family, his fans, his loved ones, and the entire community up there in Traverse. So Godspeed, and
Mine too.
Absolutely. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, Todd.
Happy Thanksgiving, Todd.
All right. So we got 4 minutes left. I'll each give you guys 1 minute on a closing statement, but I'll start off with a closing statement. Like I said before last week, all four of our Detroit's professional sports teams are pathetic. Tigers, they've been tanking for 3 years. Lions, same old Lions. That's it. They've never won the NFC North. One playoff win in 63 years now. They're definitely not making the playoffs this year. Red Wings, they're tanking. Still got long-term contracts to expire next offseason, next calendar year. Pistons, their owner Tom Gores is a lunatic still, and he's not even with all that depth. The Pistons still can't find ways to win. I just don't see them getting them. I just don't see them catching all the way back up, to be honest, unless they surprise the hell out of me. Ed, closing statement, 1 minute, go.
In bleak times, always look for the next promising light. That doesn't just always apply to sports. That can apply to life as well. We see the bleak times with the 4 sports teams in the city. We see that across multiple aspects. We've even seen that affect the personal lives of those, as you mentioned, the Channel 9 and 10 News, but even also to the case of Cassius Winston losing his brother the way he has. So around this time of the year, I think it goes without saying, it's the perfect time to reiterate. During the bleakness, there's always a chance to look towards light. So always keep that in mind whenever you're having Thanksgiving dinner with your families, your friends, your loved ones. If you have someone who cares for you, at least, always pay attention and hang on to that creative motto. And seeing where our sports teams are and knowing where the potential horizon can be, always keep hold and keep true to that mindset as well. Even in bleak times, there's always a chance to light.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 minute, Frank. Closing statement, go.
Well, with tomorrow being Thanksgiving, I say always take the time to remember what you're thankful for. Again, kind of to play off what Ed said, and always look for the positives, even when things are going rough, because things could always be worse, but always be thankful for what you do have. For me, I'm thankful for my family, getting to see them, but also kind of relating it tonight, I'm thankful that I get to do this podcast with Taylor and with Ed and with Todd as well. We get to talk about our local sports teams and discuss topics about them, and we pretty much are straightforward about it. And I'm thankful for that opportunity. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys.
Everybody, absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. So happy Thanksgiving to my family and my long-distance girlfriend, Amber Martin. Shout out goes to her. So with that being said, we wrap things up. Scour the Stables Network's website, primetimewiththestablesnetwork.com, along with its YouTube channel, and subscribe to it. Plus, like the Stables Network on Facebook, follow it on Twitter at Stables Network. Follow the Stables Network on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Blog Talk Radio to listen to our episodes of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, which you can Find our website, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast.com. Also like its Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Follow its Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_truth. For Frank Vajcner and Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips. Follow Frank Vajcner on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Frank_Vajcner. And follow Ed Smith 313 on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram. We'll be back next Wednesday at 10, just me and Frank. Ed, let us know when you're ready.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, guys, and happy Thanksgiving to my mother and grandmother.
Thanks very much.
Happy Thanksgiving, Ed.
And happy Thanksgiving to everyone that listened to us. Thanks very much for downloading and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Bon appetit. Hit them with a hind, Jeff Moss.